Welcome to the 32-team NFL franchise of the 2007-2008 NFL season. Here we are with the recap of the Green Bay Packers. The Packers went 7-9 and were the third-ranked team in the NFC North, second behind the division winner, the Chicago Bears, and the Minnesota Vikings. As you can see, Brett Favre with 3,700 passing yards, 8 yards shy of 4,000 passing yards, had 32 touchdowns, had 19 interceptions, which was pretty high for this season compared to other quarterbacks. He still had great moments. It was a great quarterback to play with, but there were times that we just weren't able to get it done. Somehow they got beat at the end. They couldn't close out, or they'd score in the last minute, but then the other team would drive right back down and score a touchdown. So it was kind of disappointing that they did not make the playoffs. But I saw that as motivation for Brett Favre to leave in the offseason, which he did do. They can see there's Greg Jennings, 1,596 receiving yards. He was one of the top receiving wide receivers in the league with 9 receiving touchdowns. You're going to see a lot of highlights from him as he was very stellar throughout the entire season. Another one against the Patriots. I mean, just time and time again, if there's a deep throw to be made, it was made to Jennings. So going back to the quarterback situation, I know in real life, Brett Favre's contract led him into the next season, which the Packers then traded him to the New York Jets because they wanted to move on with Aaron Rodgers after Favre said he was going to retire and then came back. But in this roster, Brett Favre only had 1 year remaining on his contract, so he ended up testing free agency instead. Look at that catch right there. I love that. Leaping catch, 2 feet back in bounds. But anyway, back to Brett Favre. So in this game, he ended up testing the free agency market, and I had many teams go for him. The Jets went to try to sign him. The Vikings tried to sign him. The Lions tried to sign him. Even the Bears tried to sign him. I just threw a bunch of contracts his way, and he ended up choosing the Minnesota Vikings, as he did later on at the end of his career. But again, I saw it as the Packers didn't make the playoffs, so Brett Favre decided to leave. There we go, another favorite receiver. It is Donald Driver with 1,100 yards receiving. Driver's season was also up at the end of the year, and he did leave the Packers to join Brett Favre with the Minnesota Vikings as sort of a third receiver, veteran presence in that Minnesota locker room. As you can see, he was a solid wide receiver for Green Bay, a very friendly target for Brett Favre. There you go, beautiful catch, beautiful touchdown there. And there's just crazy throws and catches like that just make it so enjoyable. I just was disappointed they didn't make the playoffs because they were a team I was hoping could be a good contender. Back at the end zone. But yeah, despite going up against significantly weaker quarterbacks, I mean, Brian Griese, Rex Grossman, that duo was able to come away with a lot of wins for Chicago, enough to win the division. Tavares Jackson with the Vikings was able to come off with wins. And then the Lions had John Kitna, who was better just because of Calvin Johnson and Roy Williams. As for the running game, was non-existent. I mean, Morency was 583 yards rushing, and that was pretty much it. I mean, I started to go with Brandon Jackson near the end, but they did not have a strong rushing game. So I think one of my main goals was getting them a good running back to pair. Last game of the season, I had Aaron Rodgers come in, play a little bit. As you can see, only 161 yards. He had a 158.3 QBR, which is pretty impressive, but wanted to get him some experience considering their season was over at the time. And then, of course, here are some special teams. I believe that's Ferguson, number 87. And in the offseason, they did acquire Steven Jackson at running back, who is going to give them a huge boost in their running game. And he's going to have that big, And then there's the fake on 4th down, and they did convert. When we look at the Packers, they were 19th in total offense. They were the 3rd in total passing yards, so just behind Manning and Brady. Then as for total rushing, they were the worst team in the league at 32, so they're going to definitely improve on that. And then total points per game, they were 15th, just above the middle mark. As for defense, they were the 29th ranked defense in least yards allowed. They were 27th with least passing yards allowed. They were 27th again in least rushing yards allowed. And then when it came down to points, least points allowed, they were 23. So they got some work on defense as well. There it is, the 2007-2008 Green Bay Packers. Yes, they had a tough season, but I'm looking forward to seeing them bounce back in the next year.